No scars, no bruises, and yet you feel destroyed. That's the cruelest kind of abuse, the kind that leaves no mark on your skin, but shatters everything inside. She looked perfect, smart, sweet, caring, the kind of woman every man believes he's lucky to find. She listened like no one else. She made you feel understood in ways your friends, or even your family, never could. For a moment you swore you had won the jackpot of love. But 6 months later, you're sitting in your car, terrified to walk into your own apartment. You don't even recognize the man in the mirror anymore. Your confidence is gone. Your mind feels like a battlefield. And the worst part? You can't explain what happened. Most men think abuse looks like screaming, cheating, or violence. But the truth is far darker. The most destructive women don't use fists. They use psychology. They don't chain you with threats. They disarm you with charm. They don't take your money first. They take your sanity. And while you believe you're helping them, they're quietly draining you, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. This isn't romance. This is systematic extraction, a scam disguised as intimacy. Once you see how it works, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. So what are the hidden tactics? And why do men keep falling into the same trap? Stay with me, because what comes next may change the way you see every woman you meet. Psychologists call it the shadow. Not the romantic mystery people imagine, but the unconscious darkness some women carry like a hidden virus. Most men think trauma shows itself in obvious ways. The truth? The most at first, it looks like empathy. She shares her childhood scars. She tells you about the pain nobody else understands. She cries on your shoulder. You feel special, chosen, like the only one who can save her. But what nobody tells you is this: she isn't sharing to connect. She's dumping to relieve herself. Every story she confides shifts a piece of her chaos onto your shoulders. Not love, but colonization. Not intimacy, but extraction. Without noticing, you become her container. You carry her anxiety. You absorb her depression. You reorganize your life around her triggers. Slowly, her private storm becomes your daily weather. And here's the sick men believe they're helping. They believe they're the strong ones. But the reality? They're being rewired. They grow addicted to being needed, while she becomes addicted to being rescued. Most men think this is bonding. The truth is, it's dependency dressed as devotion. It's not healing, it's a system built, and when the erosion starts, it never looks like abuse. It looks like a sacrifice. It looks like patience. It looks like good love. But beneath the surface, a man is slowly giving up his sanity just to keep the illusion alive. The question is not if it will break. So how does this invisible takeover grow stronger? And why do men defend the very bold women who are destroying them? That's where the real trap begins. The next stage of psychological takeover is projection. Not love, but distortion. Not truth, but a mirror of her unspoken flaws. What nobody tells men is this: you stop arguing about reality. You start arguing about identity. And that is a game you cannot win. She accuses him of selfishness, but it's her own selfishness she can't face. She calls him emotionally unavailable, while her walls are the ones shutting everything out. She screams that he's trying to control her, when the truth is, control has been her weapon all along. Most men think arguments are about problems. The truth? They're about perception, and perception is rigged. This is the projection matrix. Every conversation turns into a courtroom. where the man is on trial for crimes he never committed. His defense only makes him look more guilty. His frustration proves his anger issues. His silence proves he's cold. His attempts to clarify prove that he's manipulative. It's a psychological trap, where the more he fights, the deeper he sinks. And here's the brutal twist. The most advanced manipulation doesn't come from open hostility. It comes dressed as victimhood. She tells stories of her trauma. She paints herself as fragile, wounded, needing protection. Men fall for it because protection is built into them. But what nobody warns them about is this. Her weakness is not weakness. It's a strategy. Every boundary he sets becomes abandonment. Every request for accountability becomes persecution. Slowly, the victim flips into the prosecutor. The one he thought he was saving now puts him on trial. The helpless becomes the handler. The wounded becomes the warrior. And the man, trapped by his own loyalty, starts defending the very person who's dismantling him. So why do men cling tighter as the noose gets tighter? And what hidden hunger makes them stay inside the trap long after they see the signs? The answer reveals the most parasitic dynamic of all. Once a man is hooked by the victim's performance, the relationship mutates into something darker, the parasite dynamic. Most men think they're building love. The truth is they're being converted into hosts, not a partner, but a battery. Not a lover, but a life support machine. She positions herself as someone broken, but full of potential. The script is always the same. I could be amazing, if only. If only she healed. If only she reached her goals. If only life stopped being so unfair. What nobody tells men is this: the if only never ends. The promise of transformation is the bait. The addiction is the rescue. Men invest more and more energy trying to fix her, believing love can heal. But healing would end the game. The parasite doesn't survive recovery. She survives dependence. Every problem solved creates a new one. Every crisis managed deepens the leash. The cruel irony: the harder he tries to save her, the sicker he becomes. And when he starts to question his reality, she unveils the perfect cover, the mask. Most men think reputation is neutral. The truth? Reputation is her weapon. To the outside world, she's kind, generous, and deeply emotional. Friends and family praise her. They call him lucky. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, she's critical, manipulative, and suffocating. The mask controller wins by contrast. His private pain looks unbelievable next to her public charm. If he speaks up, he looks paranoid. If he complains, he looks ungrateful. Silence becomes his prison, because the world believes her more than him. And once social proof turns against a man, the manipulation escalates unchecked. So how do these masks trap men deeper than violence ever could? And why does the world cheer for the very women destroying them? The next stage reveals the chaos engine built to keep men permanently off balance. When the mask alone is not enough, another engine activates, the chaos generator. Most men think love is tested by storms. The truth is, some storms are manufactured, not conflict, but crisis, not passion, but panic. She cannot tolerate calm, because calm means exposure. So she creates fire after fire, and the man spends his life putting them out. Every minor issue becomes a war. Every simple disagreement turns into a meltdown. He is forced to manage constant emergencies, and in doing so, he never has the time or the clarity to see the larger pattern. What nobody tells men is this: chaos is not random. Chaos is her strategy. Intensity replaces intimacy. Drama pretends to be depth. The cost is brutal. His nervous system never rests. His body lives in fight or flight. He starts confusing adrenaline with attraction, mistaking exhaustion for love. And the sick punchline? She frames this endless instability as proof of passion. Most men think quiet relationships are boring. The truth is, quiet is the very thing dangerous women fear the most. From chaos, the attack moves to erosion, the boundary violator. She does not break walls with force. She dissolves them with guilt. Every private space becomes her territory. She reframes privacy as betrayal, independence as cruelty, and solitude as abandonment. What he calls limits, she calls rejection. Not boundaries, but barriers to be conquered. Not respect, but ownership disguised as intimacy. Slowly, his world shrinks. Friends are cut, hobbies vanish, choices are negotiated until nothing is left that is truly his. And by the time he notices, the invasion feels normal. Most men think compromise is love. The truth is, compromise without reciprocity is colonization. So how does reality itself get rewritten until a man doubts his own memory more than her lies? That is the next stage, the gaslight chamber. If what you're hearing feels uncomfortably familiar, stop scrolling. Share this with a man who might be living it right now and doesn't even know it. Once boundaries collapse, the man enters the chamber of distortion, the gaslight arena. Most men think lies are obvious. The truth is, the most dangerous lies are subtle edits of reality. Not outright denial, but constant rewriting. Not one big deception, but 1,000 small cuts that make him doubt his own mind. She edits the past like it's her diary, and you start apologizing for things that never happened. What nobody tells men is this: gaslighting doesn't just change what you believe about her, it changes what you believe about yourself. Over time, he stops trusting his perception. He accepts her version of reality even when it contradicts his own eyes and ears. And the cruel trick? She frames herself as the reasonable one, the patient guide helping him see clearly. Control disguised as compassion. Manipulation dressed as care. Most men think gratitude protects them. The truth is, gratitude chains them tighter. From distortion comes domination. The gaslighter evolves into the emotional terrorist. She doesn't argue anymore. She threatens. She doesn't persuade. She holds the relationship hostage. Love turns into leverage. She may threaten to leave, to expose him, even to harm herself. And the message is always the same: comply or suffer emotional destruction. The fear becomes constant. Every choice he makes is measured against the threat of loss, scandal, or collapse. His love becomes a leash around his own neck. What nobody tells men is this: the terrorist never fires a bullet. She doesn't need to. The threat itself is enough to keep him paralyzed. So why do men still stay, even when love has turned into war? And how does the destruction reach the point where a man loses not just freedom, but himself? The answer is identity theft. After the terror comes the theft. Not of money, but of identity. Most men think love means compromise. The truth is, some compromises erase you piece by piece until nothing remains. She doesn't demand obedience up front. She slowly reshapes him, rewarding behaviors that serve her and punishing the ones that don't. What nobody tells men is this: identity theft in relationships feels like growth. She frames her control as self-improvement. She insists that losing friends is maturity, that giving up hobbies is focus, that silencing your voice is love. By the time he notices, he isn't the man he once was. He's the version she engineered. It doesn't stop there. The next stage is recovery prevention. When he finally reaches for help, when he dares to heal, she sabotages it. Therapy becomes selfish. Boundaries become abandonment. Self-care becomes proof that he doesn't love her enough. Most men think growth will save them. The truth? Growth is the very thing she fears most. Because if he heals, he sees clearly. And if he sees clearly, the system collapses. So she creates new crises, derails his progress, and pulls him back into dysfunction. She even hijacks the language of healing, twisting it into a weapon. His attempts at healthy communication are reframed as manipulation. Her manipulation is reframed as defense. The punchline is brutal. The man who tries to rise is dragged back down, not by the weight of his own wounds, but by the hands of the woman who claims to love him. Not recovery, but regression. Not healing, but sabotage. And still, he stays, convinced that leaving would make him the villain. So how does this system trap men even deeper? Until their very emotions, thoughts, and desires are no longer their own? The answer lies in the infection that spreads invisibly. Once sabotage takes hold, the infection spreads. Not physical, but psychological. Most men think intimacy means merging souls. The truth? What they call connection is often colonization. At first, it feels like attunement. He mirrors her moods, absorbs her rhythms, and begins to see the world through her eyes. But what nobody tells men is this: when you lose your lens, you lose yourself. Slowly, her emotional vocabulary replaces his. Her anger becomes his reaction. Her fear becomes his instinct. Her worldview becomes his truth. And he calls it love, not realizing he has been reprogrammed. The punchline? He thinks he's becoming more sensitive, more evolved. In reality, he's becoming less authentic, less free, less himself. Then comes the chain that seals it all, the trauma bond. Most men think strong love is proven by intensity. The truth? Intensity is the bait of addiction. She manufactures extreme highs and crushing lows. She breaks him with chaos, then soothes him with relief. And he confuses that cycle with passion. What nobody tells men is this: trauma bonding doesn't prove depth, it proves control. Like a gambler chasing the next win, he works harder and harder for shrinking rewards. Affection becomes unpredictable. Approval becomes scarce. He lives chasing the next good moment, forgetting that she created the pain in the first place. The cruelest twist is this: the harder it hurts, the more real he thinks it must be. The more difficult it is to leave, the more convinced he is that it's love. Not intimacy, but addiction. Not devotion, but dependency. And by then, the trap is nearly complete. So how do dangerous women lock the cage even tighter, using not just emotions, but society itself as their weapon? The answer lies in social proof. When trauma bonding locks the cage, another weapon closes it shut: social proof. Most men think reputation is harmless. The truth? Reputation is her shield and her sword. Not just perception, but manipulation. Not just approval, but propaganda. She curates friends, allies, and an online persona that paints her as the perfect partner. And suddenly, his private hell is erased by her public image. What nobody tells men is this: once the crowd believes her story, his reality no longer matters. If he complains, he looks paranoid. If he resists, he looks cruel. If he speaks truth, he sounds unstable. Social proof turns his suffering into a joke, while her mask gets applause. The meme writes itself. Everyone thinks she's an angel, except the man she's destroying. And when reputation isn't enough, she builds financial chains. At first, it looks like normal partnership, shared accounts, shared debts, shared responsibilities. But soon, the balance shifts. His money funds her comfort. His resources cover her choices. His future is mortgaged to maintain her lifestyle. Most men think money problems are just stress. The truth? Money becomes a prison. She frames it as teamwork, but it's dependency disguised as love. He co-signs loans that serve her. He covers expenses that trap him. He sacrifices opportunities that would free him. And the cruel punchline is this: the more he pays, the less he can afford to leave. Financial chains finish what emotional chains began. By now, he isn't just trapped in her world. His world has become hers. His reality, his reputation, and his resources are no longer his own. But the most sinister move is still ahead. The moment when even his attempts to escape are turned against him. So how do dangerous women sabotage recovery itself, making healing look like betrayal? That's the final lock on the system. When a man finally tries to escape, the last weapon appears: recovery sabotage. Most men think leaving is the hardest part. The truth? The hardest part is being allowed to heal. She reframes his therapy as selfish. She twists his boundaries into abandonment. She calls his self-care proof that he never loved her. Not support, but sabotage. Not love, but lockdown. What nobody tells men is this: the recovery agent doesn't fight his growth head-on. She derails it sideways. Every time he books therapy, a crisis appears. Every time he makes progress, she pushes the old buttons to drag him back. The cycle repeats until healing feels impossible. The meme is brutal. The one who breaks you becomes the one who blocks you from fixing yourself. And when direct sabotage isn't enough, she weaponizes his own language. She steals therapy terms and flips them against him. His attempts at healthy communication are painted as manipulation. Her manipulation is reframed as defense. But most men think therapy gives them the vocabulary to fight back. The truth? She learns the same words and turns them into chains. At this point, the scam is complete. His mind doubts itself. His reputation defends her. His money sustains her. And even his healing is hijacked to serve her narrative. The cruelest irony is that she doesn't even see herself as a villain. She believes her chaos is love. She believes her sabotage is protection. But the core truth remains: romance. In this system is not connection. It is consumption. It is a structure designed to drain men of their sanity, their freedom, and their value. Most men think love will save them. The truth? In the wrong hands, love is the very weapon that destroys them. So what does real protection look like? And how can men spot the difference between true intimacy and psychological invasion before it's too late? That's the final piece of the puzzle. Here's your 3-step defense protocol. 1. Spot the chaos early. If calm feels dangerous to her, you're walking into a storm she plans to control. 2. Guard your gut. If your instincts tighten every time you see her name pop up, trust them. 3. Leave before it drains you. Love isn't meant to hollow you out. The longer you stay, the more pieces of yourself you'll never get back. Real protection doesn't come from fixing her. It comes from fixing your vision. Most men think they can love a broken woman into wholeness. The truth? A man cannot heal someone who refuses to face herself. Not love, but leverage. Not rescue, but ruin. What nobody tells men is this: discernment is the real defense. The ability to see through the mask before it slips. The courage to trust discomfort instead of dismissing it. When a relationship feels like chaos, it usually is. When support feels like sacrifice, it usually means extraction. Healthy women don't demand you shrink to fit them. They don't call your independence betrayal. They don't turn your empathy into a leash. Real love enhances you. It makes you sharper, freer, more alive. Not drained, but charged. Not smaller, but stronger. The system survives because men ignore their instincts. They rationalize red flags. They confuse intensity with intimacy. They call addiction devotion. And by the time they wake up, years are gone. The harsh punchline? She didn't steal his soul. He handed it over, one compromise at a time. The path forward is brutal, but simple. Trust your gut. Guard your boundaries. Stop mistaking drama for depth. And most of all, remember, you cannot sacrifice yourself into saving someone else. Most men think leaving means failure. The truth? Staying in dysfunction is the real failure. This is not just advice, it's survival. Because in a culture that glorifies romance as salvation, the most radical act a man can take is refusing to be consumed. True love doesn't hollow you out. It builds you up. So ask yourself, are you in love or are you being drained? And if you finally see the difference, share this message. Because another man out there is one compromise away from losing himself forever. Have you ever loved someone who didn't just hurt you, but rewrote who you were? Drop it in the comments. Another man needs to read it.